Okay, so what you're going to need to do for this assignment is you're going to need to open up your 2D slope plate file from your computer. So make sure you're doing that. If for some reason you don't have that file, please see me and let me see if I can have a copy of that file to give you. But I have taken all the dimensions off of this file, so you'll want to do that. And all I did was click on each dimension and hit delete. So we're now going to get into three-dimensional stuff, which is great because it's a lot more fun, but it can also be a little confusing. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go up to the View menu on the top, and then I'm going to click on Viewports, or slide over to Viewports and go to New Viewports. Okay, and I want you to choose the one called 2 Vertical, and then click OK. And this gives us 2 screens. Now this doesn't seem very helpful because they're the same, but we're going to change the way this is viewed. So there's 2 ways you can change the view of an object, and you can see we have X and Y on both of them. Okay, whatever I do on one side happens on the other side as well, so you can see that. Okay, one way that I can do this is if I go up to the cube on the top of the screen, and where there's north, east, west, and south, don't click any of those, but there's one in the middle called top, and then if I hover slightly to the left, that would adjust my view this way. If I click on it, okay, I get that. But what I'm actually looking for is if I click on these corners of the cube, okay, I get these different views. And so you can kind of click around that way. You can also go up on the top here. If you click where it says, yours probably said top if you didn't click anything else, but there's a whole bunch of options. We're going to go with Southwest Isometric. Isometric view is where you take like a flat view and you put it at an angle so that you can see the 3D properties of it. So you can see the X and Y still, but now we have a Z, and the Z is what makes things three-dimensional. Okay, so we're going to work with Southwest Isometric view over here in our right viewport. Now if you want to switch viewports, you actually have to click over here. You can barely see it, but it highlights the viewport you're in, and you can flip back and forth between the 2 viewports to do different things. Okay, so getting back to the slope plate drawing, last time we worked in this area over here, but actually this time we're going to need some information because this is what it looks like in this top right hand corner, but these views are different views of our object. So this is one taken from the bottom. So if you were to look at it from this side and flip it over, you'd see it from this side. So this is giving us the thickness of the whole thing, okay, from here all the way out to here. Okay, so if I were to draw on top of this, you'd see it's the thickness from this point to this point. Okay, so that distance in between there is 3.75. Okay, so part of that is this bottom part, this part here that I'm coloring purple. Okay, that's this part here. Okay, and then I'm going to switch colors here if I can. That's doing that one there. So if I were going to do this part here, up here is pink. Okay, that's this top area, and that is this stuff up here. Okay, that I'm coloring pink right now. All right, so there's, ooh, look at that. It even made a thought bubble for me. All right, so those are some ways that we can kind of view this object. All right, so this is another view of the same thing. This is taken from the right-hand side over here. So actually this part here are these holes, okay, and the notes show us that they are through holes. They go through the object, okay. And then these slots, I'm going to change color again. Okay, these slots actually, this one here does not go all the way through our object. It actually only goes, if I follow this line down from the edge here, only goes 0.25 from the front face of this here, and then this one goes even less. Okay, we'll change colors one more time. We'll go with yellow. This yellow one here, this one goes even less. It's only 0.15. So there's a lot of information here, but let me get you started, because the first thing we have to do is, if I get rid of all that, is we have to make this a three-dimensional object, because right now we're flat. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section down here, I think I made it purple before, I'm going to take and create this section here, all right, which is actually this part, all right. So I'm going to grab that part and pull it down, and what I need to do is, the whole thing is 0.375 width, but the top part itself is 0.125, so the bottom part is the difference. So 0.375 minus 0.125 sounds like crazy math, it's only 0.25, okay? So here's what we're going to do. You'll need to go to your toolbar, and you've been working in drafting tools right here, okay? And we're actually going to flip over from drafting. We're not going to go to annotation, we're going to go to modeling. Modeling is where all your 3D stuff lives, okay? So there are two very similar tools here. One is called extrude and one is called press pull. We're going to work with extrude mostly, okay? It creates a 3D solid or surface by extruding or pulling a 2D object. Press pull is very similar, but one of them makes a solid object and one of them makes a hollow object. So extrude makes a solid object, which is what we want, okay? So I'm going to click on extrude, okay? I'm going to go work over here in this right-hand viewport over here, okay? I'm going to click there to let the program know we're working over here. And I'm going to highlight the edge, the rectangular edge of our object. I'm going to click there. And now I can either, I'm going to hit enter to let it know I'm done selecting stuff. Okay. And I can either move down, as you can see, or I can move up. Okay. But we want to go a certain distance. Okay. And we're moving on the Z axis. You see how we're moving on the Z here? All right, so I actually, since this is 0, 0, and Z's headed this way, since I want to go down, I need to tell it a negative number. So that negative number is going to be negative 0.25, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, I get that. All right, now I need to pull this top area up. Okay. Now, as you move around, it can be hard to select the thing you're looking for, okay? The first thing I notice is that this, when I hover over this line, this is not like connected to these other ones, okay? So I need to join them together. So I'm going to go up to Modify, up in the top menu, and find Join. I also could have just typed the word Join. And I need to click all these outside lines here, nothing on the inside, none of those slots or holes. And I'm going to hit enter to join them together. So now when I hover over them, okay, they're closed up. Since they're closed, I can then extrude them. I couldn't have extruded them if they weren't closed because they're not closed up, so it wouldn't have made sense to the program. So I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm going to click on this outer area here. Okay, this time I'm moving up along the Z. Oops, I got to hit enter to let it know I'm done. This time I'm moving up along the Z. All right, so it's going to be a positive number, and that number is going to be 0.125. Enter. Okay, so now if I hit escape, I'm just going to show you something that is something we haven't messed with too much already. Up here on the top it says 2D wireframe. I'm actually going to do this over in my left hand viewport. So click in your left hand viewport and click on 2D wireframe and change it to realistic. Okay, and you will see that the block that we made is actually, and I can highlight different parts and they highlight on both screens, it's kind of covering up those other shapes we made, the circles and the slots. That's because those are buried inside of our object, okay? So we have to move them up 0.125 in order to drill the holes down, because right now they're in the middle of the object. That doesn't help us, okay? So what I'm going to do is very carefully, I'm going to select, hover over each one and select each one. Okay, and I can do these all together. Now for the slots, you're going to have to select the arcs and the lines. Okay, and if you accidentally select something that's different, you know, the block, you can just hit escape and start again. Okay, once I've got it all selected, over here in the menu, and this is in the 2D tools or the 3D tools, is a move button. Okay, I'm going to click move. I'm going to make sure down here that my ortho mode, this one here, is on, because if it's not on, you could slide this all over the place. Okay, we're going to move these straight up in the Z direction, but it needs a base point. I'm going to choose the midpoint on the bottom slot, on the bottom line, just to give me some place to visualize where we're moving. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to start heading straight up, and you can see if I head straight up, like way up, you'll see that we're going in the up direction. So I actually need to go up 0.125 and hit enter. And when I've done that, you can see that these, you can actually see it really well over here, that these are now sitting on top of my object instead of buried inside my object. Okay? So now all that's left is how far do we pull these things in and how much do we remove. So if I go back to my drawing here, and I'm going to go back and delete out all this stuff, we're going to look specifically at, oops, I'm going to look specifically at this section right here. Okay, so to look at just this section here, there we go. This is the top holes, and they go all the way through the object. Okay, so those will be the easiest, so I'm going to do those first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a solid object. This is going to end up being a cylinder from this circle, push it all the way through the object, and then subtract it out. There's a function called subtract. So when everything is a solid object, you can subtract it. So I'm going to use the extrude button again. So I'm going to click extrude. I'm going to click on this circle, and then I'm going to hit enter. Or actually, I could probably do both together. Why don't I try that? Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, yep. And now I can either pull them up out of the object, going up, forward, or down. Okay, now I know from this drawing over here that these are through holes. They go all the way through the object. So what I'm just going to use is I'm going to use my snap. So your snap you could do it on the edge, the midpoint of the edge there. If your snap's not turned on, you can come down here to OSnap, Object Snap, and turn it on. Make sure your midpoint's on. So I'm going to click there, okay, and that's going to create a new object that's a cylinder. So I'm creating a cylinder, and now I'm going to take the cylinders out. So to do that, I'm just going to type the word subtract, and you'll see the subtract command comes up. I'm going to hit enter, and then the way the subtract works is you have to tell it which are the bigger objects that you're going to take it out of, and then the littler objects that are actually going to be removed. So there's actually 3 objects here. There's this layer, so I'm going to click that, and this layer. Okay, I'm going to hit enter to let it know I'm done selecting that. And the objects I want to take out are this one and this one. And then if I hit enter, there are 2 holes that appear right here to let me know that I've done that properly. Okay, so those are through holes that go all the way through the object. Okay, the next 2 are a little trickier because they don't go all the way through the object. Okay, but they're the same process. So I'm going to grab these, but you notice that these again are not joined. Okay, so we can't do them unless we join them. So you can go to modify and go to join, or you can just type the word join, okay, in your command line and hit enter. And I'm going to join together these lines and these arcs. Okay, and now it's all one object. Great, we're going to extrude this. We're going to click on it, okay, hit enter, and we're going to head downward, but we need to know how far to head down. So we're going to head down. This is this one here. It looks like it's 0.25. So we're going to say 0.25, enter. Okay, so something unusual happened, and I'll turn this to show you what I mean. If I turn this to look at the left side, you'll see that it actually came up out of the object, and it did that because our XYZ right here is in the positive direction. We need to go negative. Okay, so I'm going to do that again just to show you how that works. So I Command Z'd, and you should Command Z backwards until you get to this point. So I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to click on this, hit enter, and now I'm going to go negative 0.25, enter. Okay, just making sure that is actually the measurement. Yes, 0.25. Okay, because we had to go in the opposite direction. Okay, now I can do subtract and then hit enter, and now I can click the larger object, which is this, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to select the smaller object, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and so you can see over here that we can kind of see into our object a little bit. There's a little bit of a grid there. Okay, and we'll be able to see that when we make it solid. It'll be a little easier. Okay, now the last one, I think you can probably do this on your own, but you're going to have to join first. So I'm going to do this pretty fast. You're going to have to join it, select all your parts, hit enter, and then I'm going to extrude it. Hit enter. I'm going to go in a negative direction, so this one is 0.15 depth. Okay, so I'm going to go negative 0.15, enter. Okay, and now I'm going to subtract. Nope, I'm not going to audit, I'm going to subtract. I don't even know what audit means. And I got to select the larger object that is getting subtracted from, hit enter, and the smaller object that's getting subtracted out, and hit enter. Okay, and now when I'm all done, I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to change this from 2D wireframe to realistic. Okay, and now you can see those slots have been taken out. Okay, and I'm even going to flip this whole thing over to the bottom just so you can see. Okay, it's still solid on the bottom to let you know that they have not gone all the way through. Just those through holes have gone all the way through. All right, so when you take a picture of your project, I would like to have two pictures, two viewports side by side. Okay, this one over here with your object, either top or bottom view, that shows the holes all the way through, and then this one over here that shows the three-dimensional nature of your object. So it's probably going to be top and southwest isometric. Okay, and don't worry about dimensioning those, because I'll be able to tell from here if you have the right holes and depths for this. So just take a screenshot right across all of this. Thank you very much. And for a 4, you're going to take the outlet from your Slote plate 2D project, if you did the 4 for that, and you're going to make that a three-dimensional object for the wall electrical plate. Okay?